So,
So,
we have something to talk about.
we do.
We're going to learn all about Concorde.
I've been meaning to talk to you about Concords for a while.
Sit down and close the door. I need to talk to you about Concorde. Did you know you don't say the if you're properly speaking to it, about her?
I did know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you just said it. The Concords are referred to as hers. As she.
Yeah. I think a lot of airships are referred to as in the lady format, but I can't say.
Is it because men think they need to be able to drive them around?
Maybe. It's definitely some kind of toxic masculinity.
I'm Misty.
And I'm Ike.
For the next 15 minutes,
We're going to debate pop culture.
my background's in music.
My background's in film,
I know the topics beforehand.
and I don't.
We check the internet for the facts,
And ruin it with opinions.
from pop rocks in your lunchbox.
To Happy Meal toys and swatch clocks. So for those of you who don't know what Concorde is, it was the supersonic, which means faster than the speed of sound, plane that a few countries would have. The most notable would be the
British
quick flight,
Airlines.
British Airlines, between New York and London. And you could do it in
3 hours.
3 hours. A 3-hour tour.
You did it at Mach 2.04,
Yep.
which is 1,354 miles per hour.
Which is
Fast
700.
as fuck.
It's 700 miles an hour faster than I've ever been in my whole life.
Yeah. You know, a really funny thing, guys geek out and know things like that. I don't have any fucking idea any plane I've ever been in, what it was and how fast it went. And none of that has ever occurred to me to think about on an airplane.
Well, when you click on the map and it shows you where you
I
are,
just don't care.
it
Women
tells
don't
you
care.
your cruising altitude and your airspeed.
But women don't care.
Well,
How many minutes are we from getting there? That's what we care about.
yeah.
We don't care about how fast it's going. We don't care about any of that.
Well, are you there yet?
Yeah. Are we there yet? Do I have time to pee?
Well, for those males at home that do care, the normal cruising altitude that you take on a commercial flight is between 32 and 38,000 feet.
Right.
It's usually about 35,000 feet.
In my head, I've always just gone, oh yeah, 35,000 feet.
Yeah.
Like that's just an average norm.
Do you know how high do you know how high Concorde flew?
I don't.
Between 50 and 60,000 feet.
Holy crap. That's a
And-
lot further to fall.
Yeah, at 60,000 feet, which is above the normal ceiling, you can see the curvature of our flat Earth.
That is so freaking cool.
Yeah, and the darkness of space. You could look up and be like, wow, there's space, and look down and go, that's the Earth curving around.
So awesome.
Yeah, so people that flew on Concords were practically space flighters.
Star sailors.
Star sailors. Natus
You know what?
Verate.
Actually, I have a fact that you will find super interesting since
that?
we're saying star sailors.
Yeah.
There are actually less Concorde pilots than there are U.S. astronauts.
Oh. Yeah.
People that were actually licensed to fly Concords,
Yeah.
the pilot and co-pilot, there are less of them than there are the grand total sum of U.S. astronauts.
You know it's even fewer than that?
Tell me.
Commanders of aircraft carriers.
Yeah. That's like that's
That's a top thing.
that's a top.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big top. We should do a whole thing
Whole
on
big
aircraft
tops.
carriers.
We should. That
Yeah.
would be interesting.
Sometimes when we don't talk about pop culture, we talk about space.
We
and,
do.
And
we're
flights
nerds.
and
At
boats.
heart, we're both giant nerds.
Yeah. So
So you said something, or the video you were watching, actually the guy said something. He was
Yeah.
like, oh, ha, I wonder how much the ticket was for that.
Oh,
Would you like to know?
I do know. Up to $20,000.
Well, the round trip from New York to London was $12,000.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't. I mean,
Back
I've
then,
bought plane
too.
tickets for people that have been that pricey, but those have been like first class to, from Los Angeles to like Azerbaijan,
Yeah,
for like
yeah.
a one-off. I can't imagine, because the travelers that traveled the Concorde were frequent travelers of the Concorde.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was the transatlantic flight that they needed to be taking for work often.
Yeah.
So 12,000 every time they did it.
I'm trying to figure out
That's crazy.
how much. So this one says even Concorde was more expensive than the most advanced fighter jets. So if you converted it to today's dollars, back then they cost $55 million a piece.
The actual plane themselves.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Which the British government didn't have to pay for some reason, but I don't know why. Converted to today's dollars.
Because the taxpayers owned it.
Right. But like somebody still had to like
yeah, I mean
write the check.
They wrote a check, but it came out of it was taxpayer funded.
It's the equivalent of nearly 200 million. That doesn't make any sense. It's 200 and then the 6 zeros that you would make million. So it feels like I don't know how to read that many.
I don't either. I'm like, I don't know that.
No,
I can't math
it's 200
that.
million, and it says that's more than an F-22 Raptor. That's not true. The Raptors cost like 5 or 6 billion. So this thing is not correct.
Interesting.
You got another fact?
I have something really cool.
Okay.
So the record time for a Concorde flight was Paris to New York. Mm-hmm. And this record has not ever been beaten since then. It still stands. 2 hours, 52 minutes, and 59 seconds to get from Paris to New York. So on average, Concorde traveled 1 mile every 2 3/4 seconds. It was so fast on the westbound flight, it was possible to arrive at the local time that was earlier than when you left your original destination.
What?
So their slogan was "Arrive before you leave."
Wow.
How cool is that?
That is cool. What's the time difference between New York and London? It's 5 hours.
5 hours. Yeah.
So if you get it, if you're leaving London and you go, but that
Well, this was Paris, not London. It's Paris to New York.
Is Paris closer
I think that
by a little bit?
England is on the GMT, and isn't Paris the Euro time zone?
Yeah, but not by much. Okay, so it's 3,400.
Not by much. I mean, a time zone's a time zone.
Right, but distance-wise, Paris and London are like.
Oh yeah.
So it's 3,459 miles from New York to
here.
London, right? Mm-hmm. And then New York to Paris is 200 miles further. Mm-hmm. 3,650 or 25. Man, I'm making stuff up today.
There's just a lot of numbers involved in this. This is a very numbers-heavy episode.
Yeah, 100%. Did you know that not everybody loved the plane? There was actually something called the Anti-Concorde Project.
I am not surprised by that. I would assume that people would look at this project as something that we kind of look at as like, where could this go and how could this be weaponized or whatever? And there would be a lot of fear surrounding that. People don't like change.
Yeah.
People don't like looking to the future and going, we could do cool things.
The skyrocketing costs combined with the fear of damage from sonic booms ultimately resulted in strong enemies. Concorde was prohibited from supersonic flight over a slew of countries, including the United States.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. One of the things people were scared of because it was so high was radiation.
Yeah.
So they had
which is really weird.
Well, the sun, we have the atmosphere to protect us. It filters
were
some of the.
Were they scared that we were breaking that filter?
No, it was the proximity to the sun.
That they were getting too close to the sun.
Yeah, that they were getting more radiation.
They were like Icarus, flying too close to the sun.
Yeah, and the wings burn off.
Woo! Look at us with our fucking mythology.
Yeah.
Damn.
Check out our side podcast, Mythology with Ike and Misty.
Okay, here's something that I read that was so cool to me. The plane grew when it was flying.
It grew?
Yeah. So because of the heat in the airframe being so intense, the plane would grow 6 to 10 inches during flight. It would swell because it was so hot.
Yeah.
How cool is that? It's like it was alive.
Yeah. The SR-71, which also did supersonic flight, when they gassed it up and it took off, it would have to leak out of its like cracks.
Right.
And then immediately after takeoff, it would have to refuel because it took almost a full tank to get it up in the air. And then by the time it went supersonic, it would seal itself up because it would grow and expand and like close down all the things that would hold all the gas.
Right.
That's nuts.
I want to go back for a minute to when we started the episode and you talked about how it was Concorde. Mm-hmm. That's only in the UK. There was a lot of controversy around how to talk about the Concorde. In the US, we traditionally put the in front of it. In the UK, it's Concorde because it's a brand. We looked at it as a plane, not a brand of plane. So we called it the Concorde.
Right.
They call it Concorde. And in France, it's Le Concorde.
Of course. And they probably have extra mayo. On that.
Right. Le Concorde, which also is the Concorde.
Did you know
I probably didn't.
that the Concorde's top speed was not limited by its engines? It's limited by temperature.
Yeah. That would make sense with the whole expanding of the frame and stuff.
The friction from moving through the air heats the aluminum skin
Yeah.
almost to the point at which it begins to soften.
Right.
So if we had a
Which is how it swells.
if it was made out of anumanium or whatever that thing is.
Vibranium.
Yes. So that's interesting.
Yes.
Because there
Oh
are
my God.
there are fighter jets that do Mach 3, Mach
Yeah.
3.5. So I wonder
Right.
if they're made out of
Vibranium.
yeah.
Some metal that we don't even know about.
right. Ooh, let's look up
So
the fastest
cool.
plane that ever existed.
While you do that, I want to tell you about the last flight from New York to Heathrow. Because pretty much it was just a big party in the sky.
All right, because it was the last one.
They had announced that, it was the end. And so the people that attended, Joan Collins, models Jodie Kidd and Christy Brinkley, British Airways Chairman Lord Marshall, broadcaster David Fox, Stock Exchange Chairman Chris Gibson Smith. When it left JFK, it flew through water cannons, spraying jets of red, white, and blue water.
Wow.
When it arrived at Heathrow, it was greeted by 1,000 spectators seated in a grandstand built just for the occasion. And the Queen consented to having Windsor Castle lit up as the last flight flew over.
Wow.
Windsor Castle is usually only lit up for visiting dignitaries and heads of state. And
Yeah.
they did it for the Concorde.
What was the reason why they shut it down?
That's a pretty dark story. So there was a crash. The Concorde took off from Paris and crashed like 5 miles. It hit a piece of metal on the runway, but managed to get up, but that damaged the plane and it crashed about 5 miles away and it killed, I think it was 109 people. It was everyone on the plane. Killed the entire flight crew, every passenger. So at that point, what they decided to do was they decided to ground it for a hot second and do some revamping on it. And so that flight, the flight that crashed was July 25th, the year 2000. So what happened in 2001?
Bingo.
As they went to go and reopen Concorde operations, it was the exact same date that made history for September 11th, 2001,
Whoa.
which caused the entire aviation business to go into a spiral after the fact that the planes were able to be taken over. There were across the board so many things that needed to be investigated. So it took a couple of years for the airline industry to kind of rebound from all of that, but there was no way at that point people were going to go, yeah, I'm willing to shell out $12,000 for a round trip ticket
Right.
to something that can't perform the way that it used to. So it did not sell tickets like hotcakes like it did before. Air France never rebounded from it. And they shut down operations first, and then British Airways very soon followed after. In 2000, it only took 2 years. In 2003, the entire Concorde program just collapsed. So,
Well,
thanks.
we should end it on a high note.
Yeah, that is not it.
Yeah.
That is not it.
And talking about the last one left isn't going to do it either. You should Google it if you want to know about it, folks.
Yeah, it's sad. It's at London Heathrow. You have to look for it though, because they've got it hidden.
Well, you ever heard of carbon brakes? Like sports racing brakes?
Sure.
Well, the original ones were put on the Concorde. That's the grandparents of carbon brakes. Dunlop specially developed a set of brakes to cope with the immense heat generated by the increased landing speed, slowing a large jet from 170 miles an hour isn't the easiest thing to do in the world.
You know how that's weird,
Mm-hmm.
but cool. You know how I want to end this one?
Okay.
You told me that you were able to find the menu from the Concorde.
I know, and I don't have it.
Oh, no, just Google it again. Just Google menu from Concorde.
It might still be in this article.
Because I want to know about that.
It's in here somewhere. Ah, here we go.
Okay.
Brunch. To start your day, our specialty smoothie, a chilled blend of fresh fruits and juices. Appetizer. Loch Freen smoked salmon with cream frioche and
Creme fraiche.
beluga caviar.
Wow.
Entrees. Farmhouse brunch of scrambled eggs, pork sausage and grilled bacon, tomato and sautéed wild mushrooms. I'm getting very hungry.
So English breakfast. All right.
Grilled filet of veal, marsala butter with confit of crepes.
With kofifi?
Confit?
Kofifi?
Corn-fed chicken wrapped in Parma ham with fondue potatoes and creamed leeks with baby carrots.
That's French.
Main course salad of grilled artichokes and buffalo mozzarella. Dessert. Classic cream caramel with poached sultanas. Saltiness. Saltiness. Or cheese. Oxford Blue, Fountains of Gold, and unpasteurized Coolini. Selection of bread rolls, coffee, decaffeinated coffee, and a selection of teas and chocolates. As an alternative to the full menu, so don't worry
How
about
could
reading
they
it.
serve all of that in 3 hours? Breakfast and...
One person at a time.
Oh, shut up. I never thought I would say these words. It's the second time this week in an episode. I miss airplane food.
Ooh.
I can't believe I just said that. I know you really, really, really hate the idea of airplane food.
I won't.
I know. We won't even have
If
that.
they serve it to you on the plane, it's fully sanctioned. If you got it at Subway
Why
and
is it
brought
any different?
because they heat it all. They slowly bring the smell in the cabin up to a temperature. It's like a frog in a pot of boiling water.
That is not true.
Well, as they're cooking it and heating it up, the cabin slowly fills with the aroma. If you're the only guy with a chicken bacon ranch Subway wrap, it floods the cabin instantly and it chokes us all out.
It doesn't.
Don't get me started.
I know. You get real angry about this. Sometimes I say it just to get
If
to
you
watch you
bring your
spin.
own food on a plane, you're a pile of crap.
I disagree.
You're a bad person.
don't
Now you got me all fucking angry. Sorry, Mom.
He spins out of control every time.
I don't like food on planes. All right. This has been episode 129. Signing off.
I'm sorry.
Bye, butthole.